Hello, this is the TradeSet U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview and Domestic Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Monday, the 8th and 14th of September 2020, ending Friday, the 18th. It is triple expiration week. So we just had our futures contract roll, and that's fine. Let's take a look at, by the way, you typically expect the market to be flat on futures contract roll. S&P cash was up 1. So if that's not the definition of futures contract roll, we started to look ugly midday, but there's not enough there because the big players are not playing on the contract roll. That's why it's so important to understand what a contract roll is. At any rate, here's the ES front month futures contract. This is the daily chart, the broad market futures form. It's pretty simple. If you break the lows of the last week, which is basically the lows of Wednesday, Friday we got close, then we're in some real trouble here in the markets, and everybody needs to be aware of that. Let's go through the majors, and then we'll look at the intra-week action. Then we'll talk about what's coming out in the week ahead. Crude oil up 9 cents, 37.39. Did dip the last week or two. That's kind of a problem for the first time in a while. Suggests light demand. Gold down 16.20. That's interesting. The S&P, like I said, up $1.78. So it was lower. It was higher. It was lower, and then closed basically even. That's kind of the definition of quarterly contract roll. Now the Nasdaq side, a little more volatile. You can't prevent that. It's down 66 points. That's fairly calm from what we've seen, but it did sweep the lows the last week, midday. Stocks down $1.40, again, very flat. Biotech's up 25.29, but this thing's been down for a while now. Literally sitting where we were back in May and April. Russell 2000 down 10, also sitting where we were back at the end of May. We've got the VIX down $2.84. It got almost all the way back up to 40 earlier in the week. The trend 0.74 is the 0.75 is the close. Puts the 10-day at 1.15. That's fine. Nasdaq volume 3.6 billion shares. Advanced decline ratio on the Nasdaq was negative 488. So more stocks down than up. On the New York, it was negative 130. Again, a few more stocks down than up. Not too bad. Google loses $10.29. Apple down $1.49. Remember, again, Apple had their split's over. Stock's been down ever since, and they're also struggling with, even though they have their new product launched for the iPhone, they're going to announce them in the next few days. I think this week at some point in time, but they're also struggling with their issues in the App Store with companies like Epic and some of the other ones. Netflix up $1.36. That's kind of a blip for Netflix. Amazon down 58.89. 13 sell signal was the top. So that was right on the money. Tesla up $1.39. That thing's been crushed. I mean, it's backed up a bit, but crushed since the stock split was at 500. The low since then was about 330. So that's a big dip after that, as we talked about. Facebook, by the way, we had puts on the our option shares had puts, and Rich was short the stock as well. We still have a quarter of that on, so it's a good trade for us. Facebook down $1.48. Goldman Sachs up 91 cents. TLT, the 20-year bond ETF, up 35 cents. The Dow's back up 131, but again, nobody really watches the Dow that's a professional trader, so there's nothing there. In terms of intra-week action, here's the ES. Now remember, we did roll contracts this week, and it was also a short week with Labor Day on Monday. So again, you can see if I slide this over, that's all the way back to last Friday at the very edge. Monday was a non-existent day. We gapped down big on Tuesday, banged around a little bit both ways, and closed lower. That was lower than where we opened. Gapped up on Wednesday, climbed, sold off in the last few minutes, but climbed up until that point. So we closed higher when we opened, and that was kind of the high point of the week. Because on Wednesday we tried to gap back up. That sold off all the way back to where we started the week on Tuesday. And then on Friday, again, with that quarterly contract roll, we weren't expecting much. We kind of opened flat. It was looking really dead. Nothing happened all the way through lunch. And then right at the end of lunchtime, we sold off, and it started to look like, ooh, this is ugly. We're taking out the lows of the week. This is going to be a problem. And then we didn't. We came back up, and that's quarterly contract roll for you. Nasdaq side, not much different. A little more negative perhaps, but generally speaking, not much there. So, it is what it is. It wasn't, it was a good week for us. It's been 2 good weeks finally. That's nice, but it wasn't the super interesting back end of the week. In terms of economic data coming out in the week ahead, Monday, nothing. Tuesday, Empire State Manufacturing Index and import-export prices an hour before the bell. Capacity utilization, industrial production, 15 minutes before the bell. On Wednesday, retail sales an hour before the bell. Business inventories and the NAHB Housing Market Index, 30 minutes in. Crude oil inventory is an hour in, and then we do have a Fed rate announcement at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So that means it's a 2-day meeting starting on Tuesday, with the tick long-term purchases at 4 p.m. Philly Fed manufacturing index at 8:30, along with the initial and continuing jobless claims, housing starts, and building permits an hour before the bell on Thursday. Natty gas an hour in. Current account CB leading index and preliminary University of Michigan sentiment on Friday. So the big thing, obviously, is the Fed announcement. Not that there's anything they're going to do, but maybe the language will be interesting. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading week, a full week here, and all clear for a while in terms of holidays.